If you go around in the city and ask people this question, what is your biggest fear? What do you think the top answer is going to be? Some may mention heights, confined spaces, or snakes, but there's this fear that will surely be mentioned by many people, the fear of death. So let's discover the human mind. What are people's scary thoughts about dying? Hi there. Welcome to our channel, Eventful Insights. Today, in this video, we'll be unpacking the reasons behind humans' prevalent fear of death. Let's find out what thoughts they have associated with death that makes them scared of it. Are you ready? Before we begin, we'd like to know this in the comments below. Are you one of the people who's scared of dying? Share with us your thoughts. Now let's begin. Throughout history, many thinkers, creators, and spiritual figures have advised us not to fear death, but to focus on living fully. However, even the most successful individuals can't escape occasional fear of death. It's a natural part of being human, something that all people share, regardless of differences. And so the fear of death is widespread, with many individuals experiencing varying degrees of fear towards it. Research suggests that approximately 20% of the population harbor some level of fear or intense anxiety about dying. The specifics and intensity of this fear differ from person to person. While a certain level of fear can be beneficial as it prompts caution, there are cases where individuals may develop an unhealthy preoccupation with the prospect of death. But it's important to note that it's perfectly normal to fear death, and often this fear is linked to a person's religious beliefs. For instance, in many religions, the idea of life after death is connected to the possibility of punishment for one's mistakes. This belief can contribute to people's fear of facing the consequences of their actions after death. Reflecting on one's own mortality and pondering the mysteries of death is a common human experience. Feeling uneasy about such thoughts is normal and shouldn't cause undue concern. Death is a complex subject that can be difficult to confront. However, if thoughts of death persistently occupy one's mind, leading to anxiety and physical symptoms that interfere with daily life, seeking professional help may be advisable. That is why there is a phobia associated with this fear. Thanatophobia, also known as death anxiety, is characterized by an overwhelming fear of death or the process of dying. Individuals with thanatophobia may fear their own death or the death of a loved one. The good news is that thanatophobia can be effectively treated, often through psychotherapy. Treatment typically involves recognizing and understanding the symptoms, followed by obtaining a formal diagnosis. While thanatophobia involves an intense fear of death or the dying process, necrophobia specifically pertains to a fear of dead things, particularly corpses or environments containing dead things like graveyards. The fear of death, although seemingly straightforward, is one of the most complex phobias due to its multifaceted nature. Often it's not the concept of death itself that triggers fear, but rather specific aspects surrounding it. These may include the dread of enduring a prolonged and painful illness that strips away both comfort and dignity, the anxiety about leaving behind loved ones, and the fear stemming from the uncertainties and perceived lack of control associated with death. Thanatophobia, as this fear is termed, frequently emerges following the loss of a beloved individual, as such experiences serve as stark reminders of one's own mortality. Additionally, death anxiety can manifest after a close brush with death, such as surviving a harrowing accident or through repeated exposure to death in one's environment. Have you ever had a near-death experience? Did you become more afraid of death because of that? Share your stories with us in the comments below. Speaking of stories, you might be interested in watching intriguing videos about unsolved mysteries, historical events, and the lives of remarkable people. If so, check out our videos. Now let's continue in exploring the thoughts that humans associate with death. As mentioned earlier, humans fear the pain and suffering that is often seen with people dying. The fear of experiencing agonizing pain and suffering when confronting death is a common fear among many individuals, including those who are in good health and those facing terminal illnesses like cancer. Regrettably, many are unaware of the potential relief that palliative care can offer in alleviating such distressing symptoms. Another prevalent fear regarding death centers around concern for the well-being of those we're responsible for if we were to pass away. Parents, for instance, may worry about the fate of their newborn or child. Family members who provide caregiving at home for a loved one may fear that no one else can adequately meet the patient's multitude of needs and requirements. Similarly, individuals in the prime of life may feel apprehensive about leaving a spouse or partner alone in the event of their own death. There's also the fear of the unknown. Death remains a mystery. As creatures driven by the innate desire to comprehend and rationalize the world, humans naturally seek understanding. However, the truth is that death cannot be fully comprehended by the living. In line with the fear of the unknown is the fear of non-existence. The fear of ceasing to exist entirely after death is a common concern shared by many individuals. While it might be assumed that this fear primarily affects atheists or those without personal spiritual or religious beliefs, the reality is that individuals of faith can also grapple with this fear. Some may worry that their belief in an afterlife may not be realized, or that they have not sufficiently earned eternal life during their time on earth. And since we've already mentioned eternal life, that is also one of the fears people have about death. Similar to the fear of non-existence, the fear of being punished for one's actions, or lack thereof, extends beyond devout believers of religious or spiritual faith. Many individuals, irrespective of their religious persuasion or lack of spiritual beliefs, harbor a fear of facing consequences for their deeds or omissions during their time on earth. In relation to that, religious belief typically associated with faith in an afterlife might seem to ease the fear of death. However, studies show that individuals with stronger religiosity, regardless of culture, often fear death more. Interestingly, moderate believers, particularly in Western contexts, tend to fear death the most, while both non-believers and devout believers fear it less. This suggests that moderate religiosity might place individuals in an existential sweet spot, neither as assured as non-believers nor as certain about the afterlife as devout believers. It's also possible that individuals with a strong fear of death seek out religion as a coping mechanism without necessarily becoming highly religious. Moving forward, there's also the fear of losing control. Human nature tends to gravitate towards controlling the situations we face, yet death stands as an uncontrollable aspect of life, which can be frightening for many. Some individuals may seek to assert control over death by adopting extremely cautious behaviors to minimize risks, or by undergoing frequent health assessments. However, making specific choices in life can help ease the fear of death. Being married or in a committed relationship can provide significant comfort. Additionally, being in good physical health can also help. This might be because it adds more purpose to life and is generally associated with improved mental well-being, or it might simply create the feeling that death is further away. One of the most comforting aspects is that people typically become less fearful of death as they age. As Jade Wu, a clinical health psychologist at Duke University, explains, this could be due to older individuals having lived more of life, resulting in less fear of missing out. Alternatively, it could be because they have gained more experience in witnessing and dealing with the deaths of others. But for those struggling with thanatophobia, the most effective solution for overcoming the fear of death appears to be cognitive behavioral therapy. In CBT, a trained therapist assists clients in challenging their anxious beliefs about dying and gradually exposes them to death-related situations to alleviate their fears. Exposure techniques may involve activities like watching movies with scenes depicting the end of life, reading hospice materials, or creating a plan for their own passing. As clinical therapist Brittany Chesworth explains, through this process, clients begin to view death as a normal part of life rather than a terrifying entity. Therapy for thanatophobia might also encompass addressing coexisting mental health conditions like OCD, PTSD, or anxiety disorders. Therefore, the specific treatment strategy will depend on the underlying causes of the fear. Addressing the fear of dying involves embracing acceptance. However, acceptance doesn't imply enjoying the notion of death or disregarding it entirely. Instead, it involves recognizing the reality of mortality without allowing it to dominate one's life. And so, that's it. What have been your thoughts about death so far? Did you feel more at ease with the concept of death after this video? We'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed watching this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell. Thanks for watching.